the one who sends our troops, often young 18-year-olds, into action. It's not always popular. I know this is not the story of the Second World War, but the public has at times been very angry with historical figures. It's a part of the history of the United Kingdom.
Yes, and one of the reasons why Chamberlain absolutely resisted going to war in 1938 during the Munich crisis was because 92% of the population were dead against it. And he knew that he couldn't really do this without some form of conscription. And when he finally brought in conscription in the spring of 1939, he did so with not only a very heavy heart, but also with massive political reservations. As it turned out, that it worked out fine, but he didn't know that at the time, and it's a very, very big deal. But of course, the first role of the government is to defend the people of the country that they're representing. So when you become Prime Minister, that's part of the package, is you have to be prepared to do that. You have to know that when...
All along the front there, the members of the royal family, the Duke of Kent, the Prince and Princess of Wales. Prince of Wales is wearing his Royal Air Force uniform today. He served with the Royal Air Force for some time. And also the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and the Princess Royal to the right of the King and Queen. The King's having a very good conversation with that fine veteran who has much to say, the Duchess of Edinburgh there with the Duke of Edinburgh as Colonel Scots Guards. As the Irish Guards band bring to salute to the King the flags of the Commonwealth of which he is head, nations that the King's grandfather, King George VI, was sovereign of, and who himself became the first head of the Commonwealth for.
To central London.
And as they turn off to the left and give their salute with an eyes right to the King, he returns the compliment. And following the nations of the Commonwealth, later years of war. And the Royal Corps of Army Music brings the army detachment there halfway down the mall. But at the end of the Second World War, my father was serving with the Royal Navy, and it is they who will shortly march past the King. And he was in the Mediterranean, and a sense of great joy for him. He served in 3 Russian convoys, one after the other.
Yeah, Poster King.
And led by the band of His Majesty's Royal Marines, the Royal Navy of today with the Royal Marines presenting their salute to the King. In the Second World War, as the sailors walked around London, people used to come up and touch the blue net cape of their uniform because it was supposed to bring them good luck. And of course, they loved wearing that. It got plenty of attention. Plenty of people came up to say hello. And after the E-Day celebrations began, there was a lot of excitement in the pubs and in the streets for everyone to enjoy. And coming down the Mall, led by the mass pipes and drums, the women of the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry, who did so much behind enemy lines in the Second World War, and these their successors, trained to do just that, should the challenge arise today. And there they are, the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry. They're not paid for their work, they're all volunteers, and they train to use their languages, to go behind enemy lines, and to provide whatever is required. And the dangers that the Special Operations Executive face, particularly young women who knew French and were parachuted into France in order to play their part in keeping the ultimate victory on target.
I would imagine wearing it with a great sense of pride. This is a really important regiment to her. It's got that personal collection, and of course she is Colonel in Chief.
So we're looking at the army contingent, and it's a reminder to me of the length of this parade. 1,300 individuals from the 3 armed services, the civilian uniformed services, the cadets, and if you've been kind enough to join our program
not
over
paid.
the last
Yeah,
couple of
all
hours,
are
you'll know that
volunteers.
this parade assembled more than an hour ago to bring this absolute precision, and it's all leading up really to a fabulous fly past. And I imagine even now, to get the timings right, the Air Force will be taking off to get everything right in the timing. And James, when we look at the Mall now, and the people who are lining it in the quite chilly 80th commemoration, what would this scene have been like 80 years ago?
Yeah, what it would have, you would have, well, on the 5th of May, of course, that was the day that the German troops surrendered to Field Marshal Montgomery on Lüneburg. So the celebrations began after German radio broadcast the announcement on the afternoon 7th, and that's when the celebration began.
We're looking at the Royal Air Force Marching Department. Most of the Royal Air Force personnel on parade are from the King's Colour Squadron and 34 Squadron RAF Leeming. 3-4 Squadron RAF Regiment is a specialist unit established in 1951, originally to provide ground defence for airfields. It's a highly trained force which can deploy globally to protect air assets in high threat environments. Let's turn our attention to the record of the Royal Air Force. I'm thinking myself of Bomber Command, the famous planes that one of which we're going to see go overhead. What should the Royal Air Force record be for our viewers today?
Well, the RAF was exemplary in the Second World War. It was an absolutely key part of Britain's defensive system, built up in the late 1930s. We had the first fully coordinated air defense system anywhere in the world, which is one of the reasons why we resisted the Luftwaffe in the summer of 1930. And this was all part of the kind of steel, not our flesh policy. The idea to use global reach, mechanization, modernity and industrialization